Hello, my name is Mershawn Viscusi, and I am here with,
Stephanie Vargas.
and we are talking about Module 4. And Stephanie, you play a really important role at the International Center here. You work with scheduling
I do
all the time, all day long.
all day long, every day. I'm one of the ELL program counselors based here at the International Center, and we meet with students who are moving to Charlotte from other countries. And we help facilitate their registration into Charlotte Mecklenburg schools by reviewing their transcripts, the coursework that they've already had, and communicating that information with the counselors at the school so they can make the best schedule for that individual student.
Wonderful. So you specialize in this, and so what you're going to talk about now is some of the tools or some of the things that you think about, or the resources you keep close by when you're thinking about scheduling for ELS.
Correct. So what we'll do in this module part of the course is we're going to talk about appropriate scheduling for the students, courses that are available, look at some examples of registration cards, and some individual student schedule samples.
Good.
So we have a ELL services toolkit that can be accessed on the internet. These are some of the documents that you could look for that will give you an overview of the guidance for scheduling the students.
And this is updated every year.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is some images from the one we had last year, but every ESL teacher gets this, and this is on the internet as well. But
Right.
we always keep this current.
We
And this is
also
what
do-
the first page looks like in the center.
Right, and we also try to give this to the counselors at the high schools, especially focused on our last document here, which gives specific instructions on scheduling the students based on their experiences and their academic history.
And these are like laminated cards. They're on a little ring binder that people.
Mhm.
I've seen people attach it to their desk handle,
Right.
so it's like right nearby.
Always handy. It's very good. So here is the Language Instruction Education Program Continuum of Services. This gives you basically
A starting place.
exactly to use in deciding what courses your ELL students need to take. And it looks at things like proficiency levels, how long they've been in the schools, what their prior education and their academic history is, and along with teacher recommendations if they're coming from within the United States or from another school in CMS. And this is basically a framework. Each student is an individual, so you take this framework and then use their information to create the best schedule for them.
Yeah. For instance, this is based on the WAPT score.
Correct.
And so we've seen some students display at that test
Mm-hmm.
a language proficiency that was, I don't know, anxiety induced or something. So
Right,
you kind of have to take
right.
into consideration what you are observing in that student as well. Is that right?
Correct. You look at the whole picture. Some students come in with straight A's and have had English in their native countries, but then because of the stress that they put on themselves when they take that test, they don't do well.
Right.
But usually when we test them here at the International Center with the WAPT, the tester can usually let us know if they feel like the student was stressed and just not probably doing the best that they could, and they're actually their English proficiency is much higher than those test scores indicate, and we communicate that.
I've
with
seen
the
that happen
schools.
before, and when the students take the access in February, those scores go way
Absolutely,
up. Mhm.
absolutely.
But this is an important document that even though you're familiar with this, you still pull this out every time just to remind yourself the direction
Right.
that you're going to be headed in.
Absolutely. Always good to have this as a basic guidance. And it just shows the different coursework that we recommend at the novice, the intermediate, and then the advanced.
All right, so when you're using that reference tool and you have the student's language proficiency score in mind, this is talking about course offerings. What's the next step that you take?
So then once you've figured out where a student falls in the continuum of the course offerings, you look at the available courses that are at your school. One such course is a SIOP course, Sheltered Instruction Classes. These are very good classes to have in place for your students who are limited English proficient, because it gives them a teacher who's been trained in SIOP strategies, which are how to work with students with limited English proficiency, in their core content classes, which would be your math, your science, and social studies classes. So we recommend that you train your teachers and get as many of these courses available at your school site.
And our department is always helping schools create these opportunities. So,
Training all year long, year round. Always many opportunities to have your staff trained on site.
So what you're saying is down here, these are the ideal, courses that we would love to see at all schools.
Right.
But you're saying not every school offers them, and if they see that they're having more newcomers, they may want to contact our department and learn more about how to create that.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
SIOP is a wonderful tool.
It is, and it really helps your content teachers feel comfortable when newcomer students appear in their classroom. They feel more equipped to work with them and to help them be successful in their course.
So once they've identified what courses they have, they try to match where the child's at with those courses, or
Right.
maybe even depending on the year. Like right now, if we're here in June, it's a good time of year to start looking at what some new courses might be offered or integrated into their school.
Based on your staff, and see if you're able to get some of your staff into training
Yeah,
in the summer.
wonderful.
There's many opportunities. So now we have some examples of registration cards. There's a template that the school system uses to come up with your registration cards, but then of course each school tailors the registration cards and the course offerings for what's available at their school based on their staffing.
Yeah.
So this is just a basic registration card for 10th grade. You'll see that they have the basic academic classes, your English, your science, your math, and your social studies. And then within those subject areas, there's the available courses that are offered at this particular school. So in English, you can see they have their foundations classes and an English 2, which is a 10th grade English. They also offer honors English, and then your ESL courses are ESL English Language Development, Novice, and then English 2. And what that is, that's a year-long course, but it's divided into 2 classes. So first semester, they'll have their English Language Development class, and then second semester, they'll have their English 2 Novice class. Now that English 2 is the same 10th grade English class that all of your students are taking, but is taught by an ESL teacher. Who's
highly qualified
to work with ESL students and also teach English. And then we also have that class offered at the intermediate level. Our advanced students, we recommend that they be placed in a regular English class. And then you can see this school also has SIOP classes, which we were just talking about. They've got a SIOP greenhouse and biology class and an earth and environmental science class, which is excellent because those are both required classes to graduate.
And I saw SIOP over here under social
Yes.
studies.
Thank you. They also have a SIOP world history and a SIOP civics and economics class, which is also excellent for our students because those courses are so text heavy that the students really benefit from having a SIOP trained teacher that works with them and their limited English proficiency.
Wonderful.
And this is the second page of that registration card, and here we just have some of the electives that are available. Now, depending upon the student, we recommend their interest as well as their language proficiency, because if they're brand new, won't speak any English, we don't want to put them in something that's going to be over their head. We want them to be in a course that they can be successful in and also pretty much be able to understand what's going on, maybe from just observing at the beginning.
Yeah.
So arts classes are good. Chorus is an excellent class because it helps them with memorization. Theater is also good.
Oh, I love theater.
Because of the memorization.
And the social skills and
absolutely
the conversation that they have.
Absolutely. Sports classes are always good. They have some sports electives over here. A lot of our students like that ROTC, which is if they're interested at all in going into the military is always looking for bilingual members, and so that would be an excellent course for them also. The career and technical education classes are good, especially for those with a bent towards technology. But our Spanish speakers, we do have the Spanish for native speakers available, even though I don't see that at this particular school. But that is something to have on your scheduling too, because that way they can reinforce their
Oh, so
native language.
if they had a course when they were evaluating their needs, you're saying they could make one for native speakers.
Right, Spanish for native speakers.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then here we have some student schedules that we pulled off of PowerSchool just to kind of give you an idea of what works for.
So this is an
different
actual example of what a student got scheduled.
Correct. This is a reminder of how we schedule our novice students, and these are students who have level 1 or level 2 on their testing, 2 years or less in U.S. school, and we recommend that they have 2 to 3 scheduled classes of ESL a year, and SIOP courses if they are available. So let's take a look and see what the schedule looks like. So here we see they have Math 1, English 1 ESL Novice, World History, and Earth and Environmental Science. Now that's an excellent 9th grade schedule. However, the only thing I would recommend is that if there were SIOP sections for World
History. Because this is just a
History,
normal, this is like this would be challenging for a novice student because there's no
Right.
SIOP instructor.
Exactly.
That's going to be a lot of
Yeah.
language that they're going to be missing at this level.
Exactly. So that would be the only thing I would change about that, because they are clearly a novice student. These 2 classes would probably be a lot for them.
Yeah. And would you say that a lot of times, I mean, I know math has just as much language these
Mhm.
days, but math is sometimes can be less stressful than some of the other.
Right,
Because
because it does have
numbers-
the number
Yeah.
component, even though there is a lot of reading.
Yeah.
Figure out the numbers these days.
Oh, there's that native speakers Spanish that you were talking about.
We were just talking about this, and this looks like it's a 10th grade schedule. So we have the student in the Spanish for native speakers, English 2 with 10th grade English, ESL Novice, Common Core Math 2, and Biology 1. Once again, I would recommend if there was a biology SIOP section, SIOP section, that would be excellent for the student as they are a novice student.
But as you said, it depends on what the school has.
Right, and if they have staff who are trained.
Right. So if they had a large population of novice students, they might have, a great ESL that has a good co-teaching relationship, and they might want to cultivate that SIOP if they don't have it.
Absolutely. This is just another example here. You can see where they had English Language Development 10 Novice, and then they've got their English 2 Intermediate, which tells me they have this first semester, then this second semester, that the students' English increased tremendously in that time period, so they were moved up from novice to intermediate, which is what we want all of our students to do. Got their Math 2, Earth and Environmental Science, Spanish for native speakers, civics
And this
economics.
English too is taught by an ESL teacher that's highly qualified.
Correct, because it's labeled ESL.
Oh, and they have chorus.
Yep, which we were talking about also.
And sports.
sports.
That's awesome.
So this was an excellent schedule. This course looks like it's a co-teaching because you see this picture here.
So even though that's not a SIOP course,
is
they have,
probably being taught with an ESL staff member.
which is excellent.
Now here is our intermediate recommendations. Usually levels 3s and 4s on their tests. Probably been in U.S. schools more than 2 years. Could be a long-term L. We have a lot of students who just can't jump over into that higher test scores. And then we recommend 1 to 2 scheduled classes of ESL a year for them, along with our SIOP courses. So let's see what we have here. So they have sports, lifetime and team sports. They've got their world history, English 1, ESL intermediate, and then their Math 1.
Which, depending on the student, if they're a long-term L, or depending on, they may be fine in the world history. They might have
Right.
enough.
Exactly, because they are at the intermediate level. So this looks good. And advanced, our advanced students are usually making the 5s and 6s on the test. They may have been here a long time or maybe fairly recent. It could vary. We like for them to have at least one class, but maybe just a SIOP type class, because they can be scheduled in regular English classes because they are at the advanced level. So here we have, they're in Earth Environmental Science, World History. They've got their 2 English classes, so they have it year long. Spanish one for native speakers.
And look, the English one has a co-teacher,
It does, as does the foundations.
which if PSYOP course is going to be different
Mhm.
than the co-teaching, but it's going to have
Right.
the same benefits.
Still going to give that student the support that they need because they will be monitored by the ESL teacher, and it looks like they also have that in the math course. So the math they have all year long, which is good because it kind of slows algebra down, and they have a year to learn versus a semester. Health and PE is good.
They should be fine in the world history
Mhm.
because their language is advanced.
Right. I think they will be fine. And then this is another schedule. 9th grader, the advanced level, and you can see what they're in information technology, which is excellent. They've got the ROTC, which we talked about, and because they're advanced, they probably are fine with the world history and the earth environmental science.
All right, so this is where you're going to ask some questions, and
Right.
in the Canvas course, they will either reflect on these questions or maybe they'll even answer them and turn them in. So
Correct.
let's see what questions you would have to see if everybody understood. And if you need to, this is going to be a video that they can just rewind back to the part where we discussed this and remind themselves of it. So what's number 1?
Is where can you find guidance on the scheduling of our L students? And we talked about
Yeah, we talked about the toolkit. is
right
one
the
part.
toolkit
Mhm.
and the different resources that we have, the quick guide.
And people call you all the time when they
They
can't
do.
remember.
You know, email and phone calls. We're always available here at the International Center to help.
So what are some, number 2, it says, what are some multiple data points to consider when creating your LIEP?
LIEP. So basically, that is taking the information about the students that you have in your school and figuring out how best to schedule them. So it's
Okay.
more looking at the big picture in your master schedule as far as how many sections you're going to have of ESL coursework. If you've got some PSYOP trained staff, how to make sure the ESL
So
students
when
get
they're
in those
reminding
classes.
themselves of the data points, they can go back to that reference tool and
They
see
sure
what
can.
points are in that chart.
Mhm.
Number 3 is how will we get L students in sheltered instruction classes?
Mhm.
And it says how are sheltered instruction courses created at your school?
Correct.
And
That's
you were
just
talking
something
about
to think
that a little
about because
bit.
we talk about sheltered instruction a lot. So if they're offered at your school, we want to make sure especially our novice students, are placed in those courses, and to make sure that you have staff who are trained.
And we have a whole team in
Mhm.
the L department that can support
right.
a school with
Absolutely.
these questions if they wanted to learn more about how to create courses.
Mhm.
And number 4 is
What are the PSYOP courses available at your school? So just look at your master schedule and see what PSYOP classes that you have that are available and whether you need to make any changes, for the future as to expanding your offerings.
or whether or not you need to have co-teaching opportunities as
Right.
well, right?
Right.
Number 5, how do you determine which course a student should be scheduled in?
And that's basically looking at everything that the student brings with them, from their WAPT testing scores to their transcripts from their
So
other
sometimes you look
country.
at their transcript and you see visual arts or some other things they've
Mhm.
taken in the past to see interest as well.
Right, exactly. And then use that information along with a conversation with the student to schedule the student.
And it says, number 6 says, please provide your registration card because every school's registration card is different.
Correct.
And even though you schedule all day long, you got to keep in mind what's current based on your
Right.
staffing.
And we like to provide the students with the registration cards here at the International Center when we meet with them, so they kind of have an idea of what's available at your school. The schools in Charlotte are a lot different from schools in many countries. They don't usually have as many options for electives. So it's nice for them to see all those electives, think about them, talk with their family about coursework they're interested in, so then when they come in to meet with the counselor at your school, they have some kind of idea of what courses they do want to take.
So a little bit of patience and process time because we have more electives here
Right.
than other places. So.
Correct.
Well, thank you so much for explaining this. And
welcome.
Stephanie, it means a lot to have you here because you do specialize in this all the time. And so if somebody had a transcript and they just really weren't familiar with it, they could always call you and
Please.
get some
please.
advice. And
Absolutely.
so thank you guys so much for listening. And just please remember that we're all doing this together. We appreciate the work you're doing. And Stephanie,
Thank you so much. Feel free to contact us here at the International Center at any time.
all right. Thank you so much,
Thank
Stephanie.
you.